Hi everybody, it's Patty Davis with Crooked Tree Creations, and today I am going to make two grave pillows. It all started last week. My husband planted some flowers in front of his uncle's grave and they were eaten by deer. So, very next day. So I just did up something really quick. I just used some craft, some floral foam, and just made some, stuffed some daisies in there and a little bit of greenery, and we stuffed, put it in the ground so it looked like we planted flowers there, and it actually looked pretty good. So I thought instead of planting flowers at my mom's grave and my baby's grave, which I'll explain here in a little bit, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to make something that looks like they were planted there, and voila, we don't have to worry about watering them and stuff like that, which, because I don't make it over to that cemetery often enough to water them and stuff. So this is going to be so much easier. It's going to look a lot better, fingers crossed, and it'll work. So yeah, I'll just tell you a quick story. So my mother passed away almost 10 years ago. She had Alzheimer's. So kind of, it's number one, her favorite color, and number two, purple is the color of, for Alzheimer's. So I have a bunch of purple, pretty flowers. The majority of the stuff that I got here, everything I had on hand. Okay, I did not buy anything new. Most of the stuff was from Joanne Fabrics, probably even 5 years ago. But I got these flowers here. Oh my goodness, aren't they beautiful? And I haven't, used them up. I'm going to go ahead and use these up, put those in here along with all these, nice, you can see these little flowers here, stuff. Just, like I got some lavender here. I think that's all going to be really pretty together. I even grabbed a little bit of, some white. It's going to look like almost like wild flowers in a way, I think. I think it'll be pretty. So, and then I got a bunch of greenery. I just shoved it all over to the side here. So the other story is, well over 30 years ago, I had a baby that passed away after 5 days. So just one of those things. I know we all go through some kind of tragedy and stuff like that, but I always try to put some flowers on her grave every year and things like that. But here, my mother also had a baby that only lived 1 day. So she already had him buried. And so whenever I had my baby, we put them together and we got a headstone for both of them. So I decided to plant flowers for both of them. So it's going to be both male and female. So I just wanted to show you the flowers that I have. I just thought for babies, I wanted to go with daisies. So I have a bunch of white daisies. I have these blue ones I got from Michael's a couple years ago. And these pink, they look more like mums. Not sure where they came from. But I thought, you know what? We got the pink, white, blue. I think that'll be pretty. So, and again, it's going to work out great. I'm not worried about it. So what I'm going to stick these in, you could get those blocks. They're like, I think they're like 2 inches by like maybe 4 inches, something like that. And then I think they're 7 or 8 inches long, something like that. That's what I used for my husband's uncle's grave. When I went to Walmart the other day, they had some, but people, like they had been smushed and crunched and everything else. So, but I did find this, and I thought, you know what, this would be great. The reason I wanted, I kind of went with this because I can cut this whatever size I want. So it's going to work out great. So I'm going to use a bigger piece for my mother's grave since she has a little bit of a bigger headstone. And then I'm going to cut it down for my baby and my brother's grave. So it's going to be nice and simple. And all I got to use to cut this down with, I just have a steak knife that I got from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to cut that down, and then we'll start putting everything together. I'm just going to put this kind of on fast forward, putting this together, because I don't think you're going to be interested in how I put it together or anything like that. The biggest thing is just make sure it's nice and full. You can't see the foam through it. And I'll probably get on here and show you kind of what I'm doing a little bit, but I'm going to fast forward most of it. Okay, so I cut this down. I just cut it lengthwise using the steak knife. I didn't want you to hear it because we got that squeakiness going on, but it's just a little over 3 inches wide. And this part here is, let's see, it's almost 2 inches. And it's also almost just under 12 inches long. So you figure with the greenery and flowers sticking out, it's probably going to be close to 24 inches wide. So that'll be nice and wide. And I think it'll look good. So I forgot to tell you what I'm going to do to secure this into the ground. There's several things we can do. Okay. I want to show you right here. I have a wire hanger. You can use your wire cutters, cut it in half, cut it here and here. And you can just kind of stick that down in. You can use these, I got these 18-inch pieces of wire. I got this from Joann Fabrics. And yes, this was all before they closed. But that would be really good. The thicker wire. That way, when you put it down into the ground, it won't bend or anything like that. Now, if you're anything like me, this is actually what I'm going to use because it's going to be for me. I'm not selling it to anybody or anything like that. I have some wire stems that, listen, I am a hoarder, okay? I'm saying that correctly, hopefully. Well, hopefully it doesn't sound like something else, but I hoard so much it drives my husband crazy. But these were wire stems from some berries that I used years ago. And I kept these wire stems because they kind of like a box. You know how you save a good box? I saved good wire. And it's nice and thick. And what I'm going to do is just kind of bend it like this, okay? And stick it down through. I'm going to wait until all the florals are on, and I'm just going to stick it down in between the florals. And when it goes through, you can see it's going to be probably a good 4, maybe 5 inches down from this foam. That's going to go into the ground and secure it. So there's just a few things that you can do. You can buy wire at Lowe's and, nice, good, I'm going to say like 16 gauge wire or something like that, and use that if you wanted to, which I have 14 gauge that I make my angel wings with. So I could even use that, but there's so much you can do with it. But definitely you want it to be secured into the ground just to make sure, because guess what? You're going to have storms and you want to make sure it doesn't go flying away. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn on my hot glue. And yes, I have a box under here because I don't want to ruin my table with the glue. So I always keep a little piece of cardboard down so that if the glue drips, it'll drip onto the cardboard. Same thing whenever I'm working with glue, I like to have a cardboard box down just to make sure I don't ruin my table. Okay, but I'm going to start, just cutting all of these stems, and I'm just going to start putting stuff on nice and random. I'm going to have one side be like the back of the my little pillow, I guess you would call it, and that way it'll go forward and up and around. So okay, so let's get started. And I do want to show you, I have this bunch of fern. Now, like towards the middle, the ferns are smaller, and the outside they're a lot larger. So I'm going to use some of the outside ones for the sides, and then the smaller ones going forward. Okay, so I guess I need to pull this back so you can see what I'm doing. And we also have these ferns that has like the different color. I got that from Hobby Lobby. I think it's one of the most beautiful ferns. But what I'm going to do is just use these little pieces. And if you decide it's like this is still too long, you can just cut these little pieces of greenery here, and you don't have to use the whole stem. Cut this down and you can use like that much there, right? Listen, we're not looking for perfection, but it's still going to be beautiful, right? So we're going to be fine. I decided these are too big sticking out. I want it more to the side, but I don't want anything too big going forward. So I'm cutting these down so that they're not going to be quite so long. And these stems aren't quite so hard. You can use regular scissors to cut them. I didn't realize that at first. Okay, and I think this is going to be too tall. So I'm going to shorten it up a little bit. You know what? I'm actually going to use, since these flowers are going to be kind of more of the star of the show, I'm going to use those first. See how tall they are, because that's the thing with these two. You can see they're flimsy. They're down here. The stem is good and hard, and you can maneuver it, bend it, but like towards the top, they're just kind of flimsy. So I want to make sure I still have some of that wire. So that is actually going to be kind of tall. Okay, we have up until here on this one. let's see. This is going to work. We'll be fine. Okay. Okay. So yeah, this is going to just look kind of wild flowerish. I think it's going to be pretty. Okay, so you can see how they're like kind of flipping forward. I want that. So this is going to be pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to start putting some of these, this lavender throughout, and we'll just see what it looks like. I think that purple with this like peachish purple is going to be really pretty. So, and yeah, these stems are going to go like kind of right with these. So it's going to go. It's going to be fine. And I'm not using a whole lot of glue. I'm putting a little bit on the very, very bottom. And as I stick it into the foam, it kind of gets pushed up. So it's going to stay on. It'll be fine. And I'm trying to make it somewhat even. But again, it's going to be like wildflowers, so we're not going to be too worried about how even everything is. But it's still, I want it somewhat, if you understand what I mean. I don't want to have all lavender over here and nothing over here. So I kind of want to go back and forth, forward and backwards, and make sure I have some out the sides too. So for the sides, I don't want them to go all the way out like that. I want it to be a little bit shorter. So, and even what I can do, okay, so we have this whole stem. I'm going to cut that stem in half, okay? And I'll show you. So I'll use this, take what's left of the stem part over here and bend it down. So you're gonna have like that. Okay, and that way I can have that going in the front. It'll be nice and short, and like these can go off to the side. There you go. And try not to poke my eye out. Okay, this is where I am so far. We can still see an awful lot of that foam, but we got a lot more flowers and we got a lot more greenery. So I'm just going to keep going until it's full. And when you use any flowers, try to use make sure you use the greenery that comes with it. That way it'll fill everything in. So I'm just going to add these darker purple, whatever they are. I don't know what these are, but they're pretty. So I'm just going to show you where we are right now. You can still see a lot of that foam up in the front, and I am going to cover that up with a lot of greenery. But from the top, it's not too bad, but I'm going to put a lot of greenery in there. So, but I think this is really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to use some more fern kind of sticking up through there, but I also have this eucalyptus from Walmart. And what I like about that is how it's full at the bottom also, so that it helps to cover up what's down in the, like, it's going to cover up that styrofoam. So I'm going to use a lot of this. And I have a stem that's already been half used. So in fact, what I did, I just took some of these pieces off of these stems, which I might do in the front just to, so it's not too long. Okay, so yeah, I am going to take this apart and use these little individual stems kind of in the front. And I'm going to have to take a look at it as I'm doing it because, well, I need to see it. Okay, so I got all that eucalyptus used up. I only had the one bush. Oh, I got a couple of these left, but I'll use those. But I got this, whatever this is, boxwood, or whatever it is, that is also really good to kind of help hide what's down on the inside. So I'll be using a lot of this too. Now, like with these, you can just pop that top off. Yeah, there's about a ½ inch that you can stick down in there, and I think it'll work out fine. I'm going to try it. Okay, you can see how that's like a much brighter green, and it's filling everything in kind of right there in the front. So I'm going to kind of go in between some of these flowers with that also. And just a reminder, don't wear black when using the styrofoam. I should have realized that. So I really got that filled in, but I still want to use, I don't want to have just fern on the bottom. I want to have a couple ferns kind of sticking out throughout too. So I'm going to not too many. I'm just going to do, I got 3 here. I think that'll be plenty. And I have a couple of these smaller ferns. I'm going to keep that together and just kind of have them that's stuck in there. Okay. I think that's good. If I wanted to add some white, I could do that. I don't know if I want to. I think that white will be a little too distracting. I kind of want to keep just this right here. I think this is good. What do you think? So this is one, I'm going to start with the babies and we'll do that real quick. Okay, so the babies is going to be much smaller. I cut this down and then just, okay, there you can see it. Okay, so I cut another piece over here, about 3 inches, and cut that in half. So it's only going to be like 6 inches wide. And I think that'll be plenty for the size of the tombstone. So I'm just going to keep it with that. And again, I'm going to use these daisies, these pink mums, just for the, we got the boy, we got the girl, and then white daisies. I think that'll be plenty. I'm going to use all this greenery too, again, and I think that'll be pretty. Okay, so I basically did the same thing. Okay, I just have that block here. This is the back. I'm really not worried about covering that because that's going to go towards the back, towards the gravestone. But this is for the baby's grave. We got a little bit of pink, so we got some blue, and just a bunch of white daisies. And I think that turned out really, really nice. So I just wanted you to see the difference between the two. Yeah, one's much, much bigger than the other. But I think they both turned out so nice. I really like how they turned out, and I'll show you a picture of what they look like on the graves. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Patty Davis. I'm with Crooked Tree Creations, and I'll see you in our next video.